Okay, hi, good evening. Hopefully we're all together. Getting it together at the last minute as always. Never. Very good evening from myself, Stephen Kirker. Welcome to the program. Why is it not showing? Oh, it is showing. Thank you very much. I thought I made a mistake, which I probably have. Don't worry about it. Anyway, how are you doing today? This is the daily wrap on Forever Sports. Coming to you every day at 6 o'clock, or as close as I can get that. This guy, Wayne Parnell, well, he's been added to the ODI squad for the forthcoming one-day series between South Africa and the visiting West Indies. The reason he's in the side is that Wiaan Mulder's been ruled out of that series. He picked up a grade 1 side strain during that second test match at the Wanderers. He went for a scan which confirmed that he had some discomfort while he was on the field. And Wayne Parnell, well, he's certainly been in great limited overs form, hasn't he? And he's also one of the players who's just been added to Cricket South Africa's central contract list. And it's his first central contract since he came back from the UK, where he was playing on that Kolpak deal. Now, it's let's stay with cricket, and I know what I'm doing. Oh, I didn't even get this ready. That's useful. I want to go talk about the latest. That's the one I need. It's the Test match cricket, and particularly this Test match, which is the fourth Test match between India and Australia. And I might about it ended in a draw in a lifeless pitch. India took the series 2-1. Australia managed a good first innings score. Yep, that 480 was a decent score, but yeah, it was a very flat track, and Usman Khawaja, he went at 180, 114 from Cameron Green. Australia, remember, they had to win this match to square the series. So in other words, at this stage, they faced 167 overs, so scoring just under 3 and over, 2.86 there. They needed to take wickets in the Indian second innings. And they failed to do so. Virat Kohli scoring that excellent century. I think it was his first in ages, and it was a big century too, and putting on a big partnership with Shubman Gill to take India to 571 all out. There was only ever going to be one winner if there was a result in this match after that, and it was going to be India. 3 wickets apiece for Nathan Lyle and Todd Murphy, but they toiled and toiled and toiled. Look at that, nearly 46 overs for Todd Murphy and 65 for Nathan Lyle. That's a lot of bowling. Anyway, in reply, Australia reached 175 for 2, and that was when the skippers decided that's it. We've had enough. So Manus Labuschagne ending 63 not out, Travis Head on 90. And for that innings, this guy picked up the Man of the Match award, Virat Kohli. And Ravichandran Ashwin, he picked up the Player of the Series award. What a tournament he had. I mean, he picked up that 6 wickets in that Australian first innings. But look at that, 86 runs and 25 wickets. He's a seriously fine player, isn't he? Now the two sides will meet again in the Test Championship final at the Oval. That comes up in June. And I guess this was something of a remarkable result, considering where they had been at some stages in the match. This one, yeah. New Zealand pulled off that reply. They've been in trouble when they were reduced to 188 for 6 in their first innings in reply to Sri Lanka's first innings, 355. New Zealand's tail got them to 373. They then bowled the visitors out for 302 before getting to 285 for 8 to get the required run. So that's a pretty darn impressive performance. It must have been a little bit tense towards the end. There were those wickets going down towards the end. But look at that man, the former skipper. He's come into some good form in this series. He had been scratchy. 121 not out to really see the innings through, because you see he came to the wicket at the fall of Devon Conway on 9. So a really great innings from him. And Daryl Mitchell, he scored 81, and he was actually man of the match for that, because it wasn't only the 81 he scored in that second innings, but also he scored that century in New Zealand's first innings as well. So good performances from Mitchell, good performances from Kane Williamson. Look at Matt Henry scoring that 72 down the order. Tim Southey picking up 5 wickets in the Sri Lankan first innings, and then also another couple in the second innings. But as it was, man of the match went to Daryl Mitchell for that contribution of 102 and 81. Now, this is interesting. The CSA 4-day series wraps up this week. It's the final round of matches. The Dolphins were poised to become, well, they are poised to become champions. You can see there, hopefully that the points do show up there. Yes, they do. You can see there 109, nearly 110 points. Titans and the Warriors very, very close for second place there. You can see they've been on something of a winning charge, have the Dolphins, to get into that position. Now, in terms of their match, they had, where were they? I guess there was rain yesterday. They're playing out in Poch, and they were put into bat, and the Dolphins reached 181 for 2. Now, I actually managed to get some of the footage of that game. So let's have. Oh no, it's in this one. Oh, I think. Methinks. Yeah, it's there. This should be useful. Yeah, you see, this is so they Lions did quite well here. You see Cody Yusuf picking up the last wicket of Neil Bartman, the trapped LBW. So that was all out the Dolphins for 329. This is an opportunity for a breakthrough, strangle down the leg, but unfortunately dropped behind the wickets. The first wicket went down on 55. This delivery edged to the slips by Thando Ntini, and he was really, really on fire here. Ethan Bosch. This is interesting. This is where the second wicket fell. Great shot there by Richards to go to 47, and the very next ball, edging behind. A bit of extra bounce there, I think. But here's Ntini steaming in again. Unfortunately, that was just a poor visual, but trapped in front there. Here's another one caught in the slips. Makwetu caught behind, and then Prenaline Subrayan got in on the act. That one caught in the deep, and I don't know what happened to Subrayan here, but he went down. He picked up some sort of injury. Bosch back into the attack then, and here was a big mix-up for a run-out, which saw Jones, was this Esterhuizen, I think, was run out here, and this is the 7th wicket to fall. Didn't really know what was happening with that one, did he, Esterhuizen? And hopefully we've got the latest scores on those. Yeah, let me pull up that. It's not showing. I don't know why it's not showing there. Let's have a look. This is the Northwest. This is the Dolphins and Lions. Okay, yeah, so this is actually the score at this stage. I mean, I did miss the one wicket in the Lions inning. So the Dolphins, they're 329 all out. Marcus Ackerman narrowly missing out on a century, 97. Half century for Keegan Peterson, and 63 down the order for Ethan Bosch. Handy player to have on your side, right? Lutus Bumler, he's in some pretty good form at the moment. 5 wickets, Yusuf 3, Molusisi Borto and Evan Jones 1 wicket each. Lions in their reply, Joshua Richards getting to 47, but no one really contributing apart from Connor Esterhuizen down the order. So 171 for 8. I would suggest that the Dolphins are in a good position to win that game and be crowned champions of the CSA 4-day series. At one stage, Ntini was virtually unplayable. He really found a great line, great length, and he was bowling with some venom. 3 wickets for him. Subrayan the single wicket, Darren du Pavilion with that final wicket, I think it was him. 1 for 29, Ethan Bosch 1 for 42. in the match between the Warriors and Western Province. That's taking place in Cape Town. You see, Province are in some trouble there. Warriors leading by 207 runs in their second innings after bowling out Western Province for 198. Warriors had started the day. Well, they started the day. They were 251 for 9. They went on to get 352. So a bit of a tail wag there in their innings. And 3 wickets for Dane Patterson, 3 wickets for George Linder for the Province bowling. But no real contributions. I mean, look at all those ducks down the order of Province. Handy innings from Zubair Hamza, 54, and 63 from George Lind, but 198 just simply not enough. 5 for 19. Look at that name there, Sia Plaike. He's only playing in his second first-class match, and he's already taken a fifer. And then Warriors in reply, that 53 for 1. Tsepo Moreki picking up the wicket of Vian Lubba there. What was the other game here? Oh, this one's quite something. The Boerland to the GBS Rocks game against the Knights. Now, the Rocks won the toss and they were all out for 221. Knights 99 for 3 at stumps. They reached 493 just before the close. Shame, Matthew Kleinfeld, look at that. He ended 199 not out, having opened the batting. Would have been a maiden double 100 for him, but missing out. Also a wonderful innings for Guillaume Kluter there, the wicket-keeper, 122. Toiling away, Sean van Berg picking up 5 wickets, Michael Copeland 5 wickets too. And then we've done the Warriors, we've done the Dolphins. The Northwest against the Titans. So, Northwest are in some trouble there against the Titans, trailing by 147, and at stumps 24 for 1. Now, they had Northwest 148. Titans started the day in 18 for 1, moving on to 319. And the skipper there, Sibonela Makanya, top scoring with 71. Dewald Brevis, typically aggressive, 56, and also 54 by Neil Brand up the order. And Senaran Mutasami, 6 for 62. And the Northwest, the wicket going to Matthew Boast, picking up Lesejo Senokwane. So that is a look at the CSA 4-day series. Remember that we are into the final round, and it certainly looks as if the Dolphins are going to be the champions. Right. Okay, so that was the first game in the Currie Cup. No, that's absolutely the wrong. Actually, I can't believe I did that. I put the wrong file in there. There we go. Let's try this one. Let's take 2. What a weekend of rugby! What a weekend of rugby! And it was such a weekend of rugby, and we had such an interesting chat with Stevie P on Friday, looking ahead to it. And I think it's fair to say that some of Stevie's predictions were spot on, but some of them, well, let's just put it this way, they were startling. So Stevie, thanks very much for joining us. First of all, in terms of the Currie Cup, it's certainly, based on those results, we are in for an interesting tournament. And some of the fans of the bigger unions will be left scratching their heads. Particularly, let's talk about what went wrong for the Bulls yesterday. You had said, here we've got a fairly settled squad in the Pumas. They're the reigning champions. I was reading that, the whole of Mpumalanga really got behind them. And the Currie Cup was doing the tours of the place. They obviously developed some serious gears out of the Pumas. the Bulls were not good, right? But in terms of the performance of the Pumas, are they definitely the form team then?
Yeah, look, I mean, I don't think anybody expected that. To be honest, I think that I think you would have been silly to have written off the Pumas, but I don't think anybody expected what was a good Bulls side, to just get blown away by that. And it's interesting because you talk about the idea that winning is a habit, and so is that of losing. And I almost kind of felt that everything that's been going wrong with the senior side almost sort of translated now down to this Currie Cup side. And it's strange to put a finger on exactly what's going wrong with the Bulls. Because again, you look at that team, and Wandisile Similani's in there, Moya Stevens, Captain Spoo, and Corsi player down on Poo. Gerard Steenkamp, Jan Hendrik Vessels in the front row. It was a very good Bulls side. But that Pumas side, I tell you what, I think a lot of credit needs to go to just how good the Pumas are, just how good Jimmy Stonehouse has them playing. Look, I tell you what, I mean, everybody sort of was saying that last season was a bit of a fluke because they didn't have to compete against very strong teams and stuff like that. And that's why they won the Currie Cup. And I think that does them quite a disservice. I think it's a very good Puma side that play a fantastic brand of rugby. They really do like throwing the ball around. They looked very good last year against for example, like Ireland emerging in the USA. I think they beat the USA. The side that came out, the USA side basically came out. So I think a combination of the Bulls not pitching up and not playing well, but this Puma side excites me, and I think that they are worth every bit of praise they get. And I do think, especially as I said, the Mpumalanga have needed something to, a rugby team like this to really sort of galvanize, sport of the region, and won the Currie Cup, then had that fantastic test last year in the Mbombela Stadium. And I tell you what, this Puma side could be looking at back-to-back titles that they can play half as well as they did yesterday throughout the competition.
Yeah, 63-15. You mentioned, the big names in the Bulls side. Clearly they were outclassed in all aspects. Was it a matter of the style of game they played, or just the fact that they weren't playing well enough? I guess they lack cohesion.
Yeah, it's. I mean, look. To be fair, it is. As I said, it is. You want to try and find exactly what went wrong, and you can sit there and say, well, it's a team that hasn't played together. But this Pumas team hasn't played any rugby since October, November. These players, so a lot of them haven't played a lot of rugby either. And it's difficult to point out exactly what went wrong. I mean, look, missed far too many tackles, for example. But they had a lot of possession, they had a lot of the ball, they had a lot of opportunities. But I think that the Pumas defense probably needs a lot of credit. To only concede 15 points. And the Bulls defense, maybe it's just not really good enough. And the Bulls defense in general has been a problem since the departure of Joey Mangala, and we very much saw that in full flight yesterday. The fact that I also think, as I said, it's an interesting mentality that this Bulls side, even the URC side, almost have a tendency when the tries start to leak, it can the wheels can come off very quickly.
Yeah. Interesting you speak about Joey Mangala. Of course, he was also on the losing side in the Lions game against Western Province, but a much better quality game, right, in terms of a more evenly matched sides?
Yeah, I had also half my eye on it because it was the same time as Italy versus Wales, which I was covering. So, and I think from what I saw, I think it was a slop. It was a disjointed performance, I think, from the Lions. I think it was a side that obviously a lot of those players haven't had some game time, and I think it showed. I think they had moments where they looked very good, moments where I kind of all clicked. To be honest, it's a loss, yes, but I don't think I wouldn't say I was brutally disappointed. I think there was I could see a couple of positives there, and that's for me like the biggest thing. If I can see some positive, I can see actually this team's not far away from being able to turn that result around. Then I'm relatively happy, and I thought it was a good Western Province side that played with far more cohesion than the Lions did. And obviously you don't want to see loss and stuff, but I think that there are some nice players in that Lions side, and I think that hopefully, compared to last year, for example, the Currie Cup, where they were getting blown away every single weekend, they look far more competitive, and hopefully they will be able to sort of turn things around and be able to start collecting some wins. I think that Province side is definitely going for the Currie Cup title. So, to be playing against, for me, what I'll probably argue be one of the tournament favourites alongside the likes of the Pumas and maybe the Cheetahs as well. I don't think it was the worst result for the Lions, but a perfect start for the Province.
We were interested to see how the Griffins, who Last year's First Division champions went against the Sharks in terms of, were they going to be able to compete or were they going to get blown away? The scoreline suggests they weren't completely blown away, but clearly the Sharks had too much for them in the end.
Well, look, Sharks are shell-shocked at this stage because, I think Griffins were leading 10-0 until about half an hour. So I think they were very sort of, a little bit sort of deer in headlights. They did get a yellow card to the Griffins, and the Sharks scored early after that. Fez and Barter scoring 2 tries. It's good to see him back playing some rugby. And I think in the second half, just they didn't really have enough. But discipline's an issue for the Griffins. 2 yellow cards and a red card throughout the game. So that's going to be something they're going to have to work on. 30 penalties conceded throughout the game is a problem for them. But I think they'll take a lot of heart out of that performance, and they'll sit there. At the end of the day, it's about belief. You've got to believe that you're good enough to be in this competition, and I think that first sort of half an hour will give them that belief. At the end of the day, unfortunately, especially a game like rugby, if a side has too much quality and they just generally are better than you, that will more times than not shine through and come through as well. And I think that it very much did with the Sharks. They were just too good in the end. But I'll tell you what, that Griffin side didn't look like imposters in that game. So that was very good to see.
And we started off round 1 of the Currie Cup Premier Division with a match in Kimberley between Griquas and Toyota Cheetahs. And the Cheetahs coming through that one by some margin. Again, for both the unions, Griquas and Cheetahs, because Cheetahs are on the margins of top rugby. They're sort of the best of the rest, so to speak. How important then is that result for them? How good were they?
Well, at the end of the day, people are basically saying there's no excuse for the Cheetahs not to win the Currie Cup. They're a Challenge Cup team playing European rugby. They can also play the Currie Cup with their full string side with no URC to worry about. So they play more rugby than the likes of Pumas, Griquas, Griffin, stuff like that, and they've got far more resources than also those union stuff. So in theory, they should be, probably almost tournament favourites. And I think that, it was a good game. I think the Cheetahs look good. Again, discipline's an issue. We saw a lot of yellow cards throughout the various matches in the Currie Cup. I think there's a red card in this one as well, and a couple of yellows for both sides. But I think for me, what was really cool about the Cheetah side is just to see the likes of a Ruan Pienaar, still doing his business. I think he turned 39 this weekend. And a bit of a masterclass for him. So, I think the Cheetah side, again, it's when you've got that pressure on you, it's important to start well. You don't want to go into tournament with, the favourites card, a little bit like Crusaders, and then use the first game, and now sort of everybody starts to panic a bit. So it's important to back up that expectation with a good start, and certainly was a good start against the last year's finalists.
Yeah, and the Six Nations really was also interesting. Ireland eventually came through against Scotland to do what they needed in terms of winning the game. But of course, everything is all to play for. And Scotland, they did beat England in the opening round. Now, maybe that was portentous, that victory of Scotland over England. Because England did flatter to deceive, I guess, after that. And you, in fact, said on Friday, you'd be surprised if France broke their hoodoo at Twickenham. But then clearly the team that you had in your mind didn't pitch up.
To be fair, I think even if you look at the bookies, I think it was quite a close game. I don't think anyone that's the worst English implosion I've ever seen. And France, who have been getting better throughout the competition, finally rocked up and showed everybody that the French side we saw last year and even the year before are back. Everything that they touched just turned to gold. Antoine Dupont looks like the Antoine Dupont that won back-to-back World Player of the Years. Everything, he couldn't do anything wrong. Remained Intermac as well, looked a lot better. Thomas Ramos at the game of his life. The pack, that English pack just couldn't compete. And I think two things can be true. I think that France played incredibly well, and I thought that England were incredibly poor. And there must be a lot of alarm bells ringing over there at the RA, because to have sacked Eddie Jones and made the big decision and then to have a result like that, people are saying, I think it's true, Eddie Jones doesn't lose that game 53 points to 10. So it's a very strange situation to be in. They're going to have to respond this weekend. They're up against Ireland, who are on the verge of a Grand Slam. So it's not exactly a team that's I suppose if you want to respond, doing it against the best team in the world is a nice way to do it. But it's going to be another very, very tough 80 minutes for them on Saturday, and I just can't believe how bad they were.
Yeah, it sets up an interesting final couple of matches, because basically it's down to France and Ireland now to win the Six Nations, and of course Ireland targeting that Grand Slam. But I think that's a conversation we'll have on Friday. Thank you very much, Stevie. Appreciate it as always.
Cool, brilliant, thanks.
Right. Excuse me. This guy, Gary Lineker. Yeah, the BBC's got to eat some humble pie. It's really hired the former England striker and now its leading pundit, Gary Lineker, to present the flagship Match of the Day programme. According to a statement by BBC Director General Tim Davie, Gary is a valued part of the BBC, and I know how much the BBC means to Gary, and I look forward to him presenting our coverage this coming weekend. Then why remove him in the first place? Well, the BBC decided to take him off air for some of his tweets. He likened the British government's new asylum and immigration policy, as well as the rhetoric they used, as Nazi Germany. He said it was inhumane, basically. The trouble is, when his fellow pundits discovered that he'd been removed from Match of the Day, they all said, you know what, if Gary's not there, I'm not either. According to the BBC, impartiality is important to it. This is Davies quoted. It's a difficult balancing act to get right, where people are subject to different contracts and on-air positions, and with different audience and social media profiles. That was the whole point. Clearly, the full-time staff and the ones who present, hard news programs, they sign, quite draconian contracts. I have no doubt anyone who's worked or works in a media organization now or in any high-profile position will likely have some sort of social media restrictions written into the contract. And the trouble is, I don't think Lineker's contract had any of these things. So I think my understanding was he was basically stood down based on the wording of some of the more, rigid contracts. But he, of course, I imagine has a freelance contract of some sort. Anyway, happy days back at the BBC. Now let's talk about, I want to talk about golfing rankings. And John Ram's status as the number one golfer in the world, pretty short-lived, actually. Let's get rid of Gary Lineker. Let's go back to the rankings, and here they are. Because Spain's been replaced by the previous incumbent and Players Champion Scotty Scheffler. Now, the American was only number one for a week the previous time, but he now got a healthy points lead over John Ram there. Yeah, look at that. He's on 540,000 points. Well, I don't know if that's 421 point. Anyway, you get the drift. Anyway, so that's a change in the top 10. Max Homa also moves up in the top 10 with Xander Schauffele moving down one. Victor Hovland into the top 10, up 9 positions, nudging Justin Thomas down to 10. Now, 5 strokes was the margin of victory for Scheffler. He finished 5 strokes clear of England's Tyrrell Hatton. Now, South Africa's Christian Bezuidenhout, he faded a bit in that final round. He signed for a 74 and finished tied for 7th. But you can still see there it's enough to push him up to 68, a move of, 13 positions in the right direction, and a similar position to what he ended the year. And he's now the highest ranked South African golfer, replacing Dean Burmester in that position. You see the rest of the South African top 10, not particularly good weekend for them. But George Coetzee, he was leading, I think, after the 3rd round of the, trying to remember what tournament it was. But he came, so he's moved up to 234. Now, this was extremely impressive from these lads. The Slovenians, they're hot. That's the inevitable conclusion, I guess, after the completion of the Paris-Nice and Tirreno-Adriatico races yesterday. Two of the early season form markers showed that Tadej Pogačar in particular and Primož Roglič are in excellent shape. Pogačar's domination at Paris-Nice was complete. His winning margin of 53 seconds was the biggest in a long, long time. He was also untouchable in the mountains. I mean, untouchable. He won all three summit finishes by some margin, and he left the competition stranded when he attacked on the final climb in yesterday's last stage. It wasn't even a summit finish. They couldn't catch him on the way down into Nice. He soloed away, and in that he didn't only win the overall classification, but of course the best young rider. Now, Roglic's performances weren't as emphatic in Italy, but he not only won the GC, but also the mountains and sprinter classifications too. Now, he also won 3 stages in a row in the mountains by being able to outsprint his rivals. So, different strategies, just to stay with your rivals, and if you can outkick them at the finish, you do pick up those bonus seconds. I mean, yes, I'm a bit of a cycling nut. I accept that fact, but I'm really excited about the Grand Tours this season, based on the form of some of the riders. Jonas Vingegaard, last year's Tour de France champion, well, he was there and thereabouts, but simply unable to match Pogačar. But early season form isn't everything, so I think it's going to be exciting. Anyway, please do have a great evening, and thanks for checking out the Daily Wrap here on Forever Sport. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Ciao.